What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's Ernie Blerd without fear. Welcome back to the channel. Okay, in today's video, we are going to be talking about probably one of my favorite superheroes that doesn't really get a whole lot of respect put on his name, and that is one Dwayne Michael Taylor, aka Night Thrasher. We're gonna talk about all of my favorite things about this character and a whole lot more right now, but first, let's hit that intro.
Word to wise, grass only greener when it's fertilized. Gave them truth in these songs, they prefer to lies. Destiny beautiful, adrift in her purple lies. You can't see me, you Stevie, wondering how I reach more evolutions than Evie and make it look easy.
Before we get started, if you want to see more awesome comic book videos like this one, it only takes 2 clicks to become one of Earth's mightiest subscribers. Click. Night Thrasher first appeared in Thor number 411 in 1989, and he was created by Tom DeFalco and Ron Frenz. Now, Dwayne Taylor, he became a superhero the way most non-powered superheroes do, and that is by his parents getting murked. Though in his case, it was made even more interesting by the fact that he was essentially raised by his parents' killer, an elderly Asian woman named Tai. Tai didn't necessarily kill them herself, but she did mastermind the whole thing. And before realizing this, he spent his life with Tai as his legal guardian, as well as another legal guardian by the name of Andrew Cord, an ex-military merc and former associate of Cable. He's also the son-in-law of Tai and the father of Night Thrasher's closest confidants, and maybe even arguably one of his greatest enemies, Silhouette and Midnight's Fire, respectively. Cord and Tai raised Dwayne and trained him in martial arts, survival, and tactics, molding him into a weapon. Dwayne eventually began training himself, surrounding himself with the best teachers in every discipline, not just in physical combat, but even in academia and investigative disciplines. He literally spared no expense. Eventually, he developed his own suit of battle armor specifically designed to help him fight against his former partner, Midnight's Fire, and also against any other criminal threat. He clearly is a Legend of Zelda fan because he recognized it's dangerous to go alone and started the New Warriors, of which he is the founder and leader of, and what many never notice is that he's also their financial backer. Dwayne is also filthy rich because of his company, the Taylor Foundation, the main reason why Tai orchestrated his parents' death, so that she could get a hold of his assets and control them, something she eventually accomplished. Now, in Dwayne's spare time, he researched and tracked down every hero he wanted for his potential superhero team that would soon become called the New Warriors, and he even based their initial makeup around another team, the Fantastic Four. Seeing himself as the Reed Richards of the group with his intellect, he first recruited Nova to be his pure hitter and muscle, much like the Thing. Then later he recruited Firestar and Marvel Boy, who is now known as Justice, to fill in the roles of Human Torch and Invisible Woman, respectively. Later on, grabbing Namorita and Speedball to round out the team. Tai would even act as a mentor to the group from time to time, oddly enough. Though Thrasher created this team, he would later leave it once he learned that his company was actually being used and manipulated to benefit the same crimes he's trying to stop, and that his guardian Tai was behind all of it. So what exactly can this cat do? Well, Night Thrasher, being a normal human, has trained his body and mind almost his entire life. As a result, he is one of the most proficient hand-to-hand fighters in the Marvel Universe, trained in over a dozen different martial arts styles. He's so good, Punisher had to pull the strap on him in a pure hands fight because he knew Dwayne was about to get that ass. His levels of strength are at peak human physical limits. Despite this, his battle armor actually increases his strength through the use of augments and hydraulics to allow him to get as close to superhuman strength as possible, but not enough to be classified as such. Thanks to his training, he's become a highly trained acrobat as fitness well. He's even managed to incorporate this into his skateboarding techniques, which often factor into his combat tactics and his general mobility and getting around. One thing people tend to downplay about Thrasher is his intelligence. Night Thrasher has a genius-level intellect, and he has made good use of it as an engineer and inventor and as a skilled detective, something that has helped him create his battle armors and gadgets, as well as helped him investigate and gather intelligence on Marvel's premier and even not-so-premier superheroes. Night Thrasher also possesses an immunity to telepathic attacks and suggestions, as even Emma Frost wasn't able to breach his mind. This was originally thought to be because of his rigorous training and meditation regimen, but later turned out to be because of his former mentor Ty, likely to ensure no one would ever get inside his head and open that can of worms about his parents being murdered by her, which makes sense because during this time, he did hang out with Marvel Boy quite a bit, and Marvel Boy, well, he is telepathic. Night Thrasher's battle armor was a lightweight Kevlar fiber hybrid in a ceramic matrix framework with both 8mm and 16mm thick layers of micro-mail titanium nitride. The suit was specifically designed to withstand the brute force and power of Silhouette's brother, Midnight's fire. The suit is for all intents and purposes bulletproof, knife-proof, and fireproof, though this is in regards to conventional firearms, and even that's not 100%, seeing as how Punisher was able to rupture his armor using a submachine gun at point-blank range. Weapons made of vibranium, adamantium, and other anti-armor weapons have proven to get through his armor from time to time as well. His armor is also capable of camouflaging him with an extremely thin layer of LEDs. When he upgraded to his Mark II edition of the armor, the suit was outfitted with an active camouflage system, not unlike what you'd see in Ghost in the Shell or the Metal Gear Solid series. His helmet's visor is also equipped with infrared, night vision, telescopic zoom lenses, scanners, and a plethora of other augments. The helmet also has a parabolic sound enhancer, two-way radio, a rebreather, and more. It even had a voice scrambler during a time when writers didn't often give characters that sort of thing. Now, thanks to CW's Arrow, everyone has one. His weapon of choice was always his Eskrima sticks, not unlike Hell's Kitchen's own Daredevil, and he also kept a spring-locked blade in his right wrist gauntlet with an adamantium alloy garrote wire in the left. When he switched over to the Mark II armor, he added pepper spray, sleeping gas, grapnel lines, and a built-in computer pad. He also modified the gauntlets to explosively fire off his Eskrima sticks when desired. He also wasn't above having micro surface-to-surface missiles mounted on his forearms, and he even had a hidden compartment on the suit for a pair of submachine pistols, in case the block gets hot. He also made use of a fiberglass skateboard that was weaponized with razor-sharp blades built into it. It could also reconfigure into a snowboard when necessary, and also durable enough to act as a shield. And later, the skateboard was upgraded to being an all-purpose hoverboard. He's as recently of this year, 2020's incoming #1, been seen using his old skateboard. Speaking of getting around, his Mark II armor was also rigged with a glider chute. Like any good street-level crime fighter, he kept a utility belt with various and sundry items, including but not limited to explosives, cordite packs, incendiary packs, napalm gel, magnesium flares, smoke capsules, ball bearings, and my personal favorite, caltrops. The Night Thrasher battle armor Dwayne began wearing during Civil War and has been wearing ever since is said to be made of vibranium mesh. Interesting side note about Thrasher is that when we first meet Night Thrasher, he's still a whole-ass teenager at age 19. In X-Men Volume 2 number 29 and X-Force Volume 1 number 32, we learn Night Thrasher has some ties to the villainous Hellfire Club, though what they are, we will probably never know, because the true nature of this has never been revealed. He was once famously tied to Dwayne McDuffie's tongue-in-cheek pitch letter addressed to Marvel, whom he worked for at the time, titled Teenage Negro Ninja Thrashers, that was a dig at characters like Thrasher, as well as a couple of other Marvel heroes like Rocket Racer, who at the time McDuffie rightfully saw as being just generic black characters who happen to have skateboards. Though, oddly enough, Tom DeFalco did in fact base Night Thrasher on skateboarding magazine sales, which were a big hit for Marvel at the time, specifically the magazine Thrasher, hence the name. Night Thrasher used to employ, and in some regards still does, some very Batman-esque tendencies. He was always 10 steps ahead of most people in the room, he always knew things others didn't, and he constantly kept up an air of mystique around himself that made people question whether or not he was as dangerous as he looked, or worse. Not to mention his entire background, his setup, everything about him kind of screams Batman. Speaking of things Batman would do, when he recruited Nova to the New Warriors, Richard Rider at the time did not have access to his powers. He had recently lost them, and Thrasher knew this, but he needed Nova on the team, so he dragged Richard up to a rooftop and threw him off of it. This high-stress moment reactivated Richard's Nova powers, and he was able to survive the fall. Something Nova was pissed about, even more so when he learned Dwayne didn't even know if that would actually reactivate his abilities. One of his biggest claims to fame is that he's gone toe-to-toe with characters like the Juggernaut and Terrax, who, might I remind you, is a whole-ass Herald of Galactus. Now, bear in mind, in both of these situations, he had the New Warriors with him. In regards to Juggernaut, he also was alongside Thor. One of Night Thrasher's favorite tag team partners tends to be Spider-Man, and they've teamed up a lot throughout the years, whether it's in the pages of Spider-Man's own comic or the New Warriors comics. One could even make an argument that Spider-Man is the reason Night Thrasher, as well as the New Warriors themselves, became as popular as they did. One could also say Night Thrasher may have been at least half responsible for prophesizing Speedball's transformation into Penance as far back as 1991, when Speedball jokingly mentioned putting spikes on his suit to be more effective in combat. Thrasher seemed to think this was a good idea. Fast forward almost 20 years later, it becomes a reality. He's taken on two wards in his time, the first being Rage, a young preteen boy who gained superpowers from toxic waste that turned him into an incredibly and irrationally angry, full-grown, muscle-bound man. He's also taken on Microbe, a young mutant whose father died working on a cancer cure for the Taylor Foundation. Microbe would later join the New Warriors. Dwayne eventually wound up retiring from superhero shenanigans, but roughly around the time of Civil War, he did in fact bring the New Warriors back as a whole new team and convinced a TV studio to bankroll and promote their travels and superhero shenanigans as a reality TV show a la MTV's Road Rules. This ultimately backfired when they encountered Nitro, and we all know how that ended, with a whole-ass superhero civil war. The same explosive incident that ignited the Civil War also killed Dwayne and Namorita and Microbe, as well as many others. And the Night Thrasher that we see from that point on is actually his half-brother, Danielle Taylor, previously known as Bandit, who is carrying on Dwayne's legacy and makes it his life's mission to bring Dwayne back. Danielle would remain as Night Thrasher all the way through Secret Invasion, Dark Reign, even up to and somewhat beyond Siege. During Contest of Champions Volume 2, the Collector yanks the original Night Thrasher from the past right before he was about to die at the hands of Nitro's explosion and places him on his team to fight against the Grand Master and his squad. But thanks to Maestro taking over the team from the Collector, Dwayne is sent back to the present instead of the past, where he died. Maestro did this largely because he felt Thrasher was too dangerous to his own plans to keep around. And as a result of this and his time displacement, Dwayne still has nightmares about his death despite avoiding it. And even though he's been alive for some time, the general public is not aware of this. He's held membership on not just the New Warriors, but Red Team, Psionics, the Folding Circle, which at the time he was acting as a double agent, and the Marvel Network. He's even recently been revealed to be a member of the 3 X's, a super think tank comprised of himself, Blue Marvel, and Jimmy Woo, considered to be an informal version of the Avengers that focuses on fringe activity going on in the Marvel Universe. Think of them as a reboot of the more recent incarnation of the Ultimates. Now let's talk about some media appearances. Night Thrasher doesn't really have many. To be honest, Night Thrasher was scheduled to make appearances on television on at least 2 separate occasions that never came to be. The first of which was a Night Thrasher TV series that was being developed on what was at the time UPN, what we know now as the CW, back in 2002. But the series was never made. Night Thrasher was also cast for the New Warriors TV series that was supposed to hit Freeform in 2019 and was even set to be played by Jeremy Tardy, but the show was ultimately canceled as well. He's only had 1 video game appearance so far, and that's in the mobile game Marvel Contest of Champions. Now, as normal in these videos, I like to pick an actor who could play the characters I'm talking about on the big or small screen, and in this one, the actor I wanted to pick was Jovan Adepo. And for those who aren't familiar with him, you might remember him from things such as HBO's Watchmen series, where he plays the younger version of Will Reeves. He also played Antron McCrae in Netflix's When They See Us. He also plays the main character, Boyce, in Overlord. And he also played alongside Denzel Washington and Viola Davis in the movie Fences. He's an actor I've only recently discovered as of the time that When They See Us and Overlord came out. I see a lot of potential in this guy, and I would like to see him play a character like Dwayne. I feel like he could play like that character who just has like a raging fire burning with him. He's just ready to unleash and is just ready to take on the world. Now for some recommended reading. I do highly recommend that you read the crossover storyline Hero Killers, which spans Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 26, The Spectacular Spider-Man Annual number 12, Web of Spider-Man Annual number 8, and New Warriors Annual number 2. I also recommend checking out his 1993 solo run that does a really good job of introducing you to both Night Thrasher and some of the other characters in his orbit like Silhouette, Bandit, and Midnight's Fire. And I also recommend checking out the Night Thrasher storyline for Control that came out in 1992. This is actually the series that kind of first showcases us his Mark II armor and also has some really good character development between himself and Cord and Silhouette. I also highly advise checking out the New Warriors comic book that's going to be relaunching in April of this year by Daniel Kibblesmith and Luciano Vecchio. It's supposed to be really heavily tied in with the new Outlawed storyline that's going to be going on that also involves characters like Kamala Khan, Miles Morales, and the rest of the champions. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how this plays off. We're going to see a lot of characters that probably haven't seen together in a while. We're going to see Night Thrasher, Firestar. Looks like Namorita is going to be back. Rage is going to be on the team, and I'm pretty sure I see a whole ass Speedball as well as some other characters. So I'm really curious to see how this plays out. I can't wait to read it. But anyways, I really like Night Thrasher. I think he's a very interesting character. I kind of feel like he's one of those characters that kind of was born out of maybe some potentially problematic circumstances, but at the same time, throughout the years, has kind of been able to make a comeback from that and become a character that stands out on his own. But anyways, let me know what you think about Night Thrasher. Sound off in the comments. So hey, you made it to the end of the video. Awesome for you. If you enjoyed this video, and if you made it this far, I don't see how you didn't, do me a favor. Hulk smash that like button. And if you want to see more awesome videos like this one, make sure you click subscribe so you can become one of Earth's mightiest subscribers, and tap that bell so you know when I post up. Also, feel free to go check out my Patreon, where if you chuck in $1, you can get early access to most of my videos up to a week early. And if you have time, make sure you swing by nerd901.com, where you can find more of my content as well as other amazing stuff. Anyways, until next time, I love you 3000 plus ultra.